Hello, welcome to the Damian and Devlin show, and this is our review of Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Sorry, I saw myself.
It's fine, I knew.
All right,
What about Elvira?
All right, the 1988 comedy film directed by James Signorelli, starring Cassandra Peterson, W. Morgan Shepherd, Daniel Green, and Edie McClure.
You forgot Elvira.
Cassandra Peterson.
No, Elvira.
I know she goes by Elvira in this movie, but I was giving her props for the woman who is. All right, she actually does go by Elvira in this movie. Now, this was a 1988 film, so it's actually, if you do the math, when we're releasing this, it's pretty close to the 30th anniversary of this movie. And anybody who follows Elvira knows she still looks amazing, and she's in her late 60s. She is incredible. And for those of you who know Elvira, she is a horror hostess that has made a living. If you ever hear about her past, it's incredible, because she just did this one little show on a small station. She turned it into a whole career. This wasn't even planned. And she's got merchandising. She does public appearances. She doesn't do a lot of public appearances as Elvira anymore, but she does every once in a while for charities and stuff. But she will show up as Cassandra Peterson, and she has turned this into a viable market. In '88, she actually helped fund this movie, and there's some bittersweetness of this movie because, unfortunately, around the week it came out, I can't remember the exact story, but around the week it came out, it literally, the company, New World Pictures, folded. So she lost a lot of money, and they didn't promote it. So this movie didn't really do anything at the theaters and just became a cult classic. And I was the one who introduced it. It's very campy, and I didn't know exactly how Damian would take this movie, but I do know he was an Elvira fan. He liked her pictures and maybe some of her late night B movies, but I don't know if you ever watched that. She only made 2 films, and I decided to show her the best of the 2, and let's see what Damian's first opinions of this film was, because I can't wait to see what he has to say.
You know, I don't think Elvira can do any wrong by me. I remember having a conversation with a coworker of mine recently where he made a post on Facebook saying that it was her birthday, and we got in talking about her, and he asked me, don't you think that she looks better now as an older woman than she did as a younger woman? And I had to agree. She looks awesome even to this day, and I would drop anything to just have one night with this woman. I'm just saying that right out in the open. I am a huge Elvira fan. I love her. She's a wonderful person as well, super nice. And you know, I'd never seen any of her movies, and I did expect camp because it's her, as well as because of everything that you've been telling me about this movie. But you know what? I was pleasantly surprised. I enjoyed it. I'll tell you how I feel about it, but I enjoyed it for the most part. For the most part.
For any of you who know Elvira, she has a certain style of comedy. And what I like about it is she never strays from it. The jokes are really bad, and they're usually sexual or boob-oriented in nature. But I always love that no matter what you watch Elvira, she's real. She stays with that humor. She could have got professional writers, and she did have a couple of help in this, but you can still see Elvira's stamps on it. Now, it's hard to find this movie, but definitely search it out, in my opinion. The story basically is Elvira loses her job and has a dream of going to Las Vegas to put on a show, but she needs $50,000 in order to do it, and conveniently she gets an inheritance which leads her to a very small town, and she finds trouble with all the townspeople, but she is going to do everything she can to get that $50,000, but there's some mystical stuff that's standing in her way. And I don't want to give away too much, but we'll probably give away some things in the plot. But that's the basic plot points of Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. And we decided to do this because we always, when we do Halloween, we like to mix it up a bit because some people just don't like the horror. So if you like goofy comedy with a little essence of horror, this is your movie. Do you want to start with your positives?
Yeah, absolutely, I'll start with my positives. Elvira Cassandra Peterson is #1. That's a huge positive for me. I'm a big fan of her. She's gorgeous. She's funny. I think she's quirky in all the right ways. And you know, when even her jokes, when they fall flat, you just can't help but enjoy the fact that she tried. She's got this magneticism about her. She's awesome with everything that she does. So she is positive for me for sure. And you know what? I actually did like the script. I found it was pretty simple. It was funny at times. I was laughing quite a bit just at the outrageousness of what was going on. And, you know, I really just did enjoy the ride from start to finish. I liked the set pieces of certain things, like the house that Elvira goes to, her car, of course. I loved the car. And then just like her costume, which is a staple for Elvira and whatnot. I enjoyed that quite a bit. And you know what? It was pretty funny as well. The jokes, yes, very sexual, very boob-oriented, very just toilet humor, essentially. Very lowbrow humor, but it works because it's Elvira. And even when it's not funny, it's still funny if you kind of know what I mean. Nothing really fails in this. It feels like a cheesy B-movie, and it starts off with showing you one of the worst cheesy B-movies that I've ever seen in my life, and I've not seen this movie, but I don't want to.
I want to find out what it was, because I can't remember what it was.
It looked horrible. It seemed horrible, but the whole cheese factor just never goes away throughout this entire movie. It never stops and tries to take itself seriously. It never stops and tries to say, hang on a second, we are going to just ramp it up suddenly. It falls through with what it is, and that's what I enjoy about it.
Excellent. I'll continue. Actually, I'll go right off of what you said. If you're a little nervous about this movie, now, even though the movie does rely heavily on little gags of sex and boobs and her, ass and all that, this is not a filthy movie. In fact, when you see movies like in today's standards, like a Team America or or Sausage Party, this is actually quite mild. In fact, I think it's a PG rating because so it's titillation humor, but Elvira can kind of humorously degrade herself, but she never goes to the point where you're really... I think there was only one line that you kind of was shocked that you actually heard it, and Elvira didn't say it, but it was still, compared to some of the comedies now, very tame. What line is that? It had to do with the morality picnic. And is this face taken? And when you hear that line, thank us, because that is one of my favorite lines in the movie.
Oh my god, that's a horrifying image. That classifies it as a horror movie right there.
And so I agree with you. I like the script. It's simple. It's the humor is very of her. She has some great lines in this. Stuff like, when I go, I hope they don't just think I'm a beautiful pair of, boobs, that I was also an amazing pair of legs. Stuff like that is pure Elvira.
One of my favorite interactions is when the character Bob asks, how's your head after she gets knocked on the head? And she goes, I haven't had any complaints yet.
Yeah, and it's sweet stuff like that. But what I also like about the script is that they actually try to get sentimental. Not too much, but there are moments that you actually feel bad for her because she's being ostracized in this small town. And I also like the subplot that the people that actually help her are the teenagers in the town who are looking for a way to rebel, and Elvira is a perfect example. Adding the teenagers actually adds a sweetness to this that I actually was surprised. They also do some things with a dog that could have been a really cutesy thing, but by the end of it, I actually love the dog.
I did too.
He's kick-ass. He's kick-ass. Gronk. No, Gong. That's
full name is Algonquin.
Yeah, but they call him Gong. But he could have been really annoying at the beginning, but he's really cool.
Yeah,
so,
I like Gong.
Yeah. And I agree with you. Even when jokes fail for Elvira, she is so charming and sweet. And I have a feeling she had a lot to say in everything in this movie. I think her production company is... I think it's empowering to women, because even though she plays up her sexuality, Elvira is never seen as a victim. She's always the one who saves her. There's a big hunky guy she dates, but the only times that he actually comes to save her, you get the feeling she's doing it because she's trying to get his attention, because she can take care of herself. But I love that she plays up, okay, I'll play... But it's really, it is really great to see that. And I'm sorry she lost so much money on this, because it stopped her from doing another movie. For years later, she did release another one called Haunted Hills. It's got beautiful production values, but sadly not a great film. But this one is, and I do find it very funny, but it is very juvenile. It's not going to be for everybody.
No.
But if you do like Elvira and just want to see more of her, because this is the first time she's on screen, and she's pretty much on screen all the time. And I actually think she did pretty good casting. I liked some of the supporting. Edie McClurg, I'm a big fan of her. She plays Chastity Pariah, still one of the greatest names in my eyes. Like, just that name, you know you're in for trouble. But that actress can do no wrong in my eyes. The guy that played her uncle, I believe that's W. Morgan Shepherd. He was creepy.
I love his voice.
Yeah,
I was thinking about it throughout the movie, and he has a British accent, but I know I've heard that growly,
I think
low
he's
voice.
done some.
He has done voice actor work, and he actually was the voice of a narrator in a video game series that I liked a lot, Medal of Honor.
Nice.
He plays your boss in it, and he always briefs you on the missions, and that's how I knew his voice. So when I actually put a face to the name, like the voice, I loved it. I loved his performance.
And I believe he has a glass eye, because in the movie,
I think you're right.
And I don't think that was a special effect, because if it was, applause for the special effects. There's not a lot of special effects in here. They play it for camp, but honestly, some of the special effects I liked. Whenever they showed the moon, there was a glow with the moon that I really liked, with the clouds coming in and stuff like that, but you're shaking your heads already. So why don't you get into your negatives?
So I will touch on the special effects. It very much reminded me of that horrible lightning special effect from Rocky Horror Picture Show.
One scene in that movie, and that's all he thinks about.
There's the lightning, there's fire, and then in order for a character to transform, they spin around in a circle, and there's like this greeny blue kind of horrible thing. It's just so stupid. And there's a familiar in the movie as well. And if you don't know what a familiar is, it's basically a witch's companion that can shapeshift into whatever shape that it wants to, depending on the circumstances. And near the end of the movie, this familiar transforms, and it looks at Elvira, and the familiar's eyes glow red. And I was like, that is so bad. But I'll give it a pass because of the way the movie is filmed. Now, as well, I have a big problem with the plot at one point. So there's this book. It's a recipe book, but it's not your conventional recipe book. It's a spell book, essentially, for witches or wizards or whatever you want to call them. And there's a character in it that really wants this book. And they state specifically that when the moon gets blocked out by the earth and becomes a lunar eclipse, that's when they'll be able to use the book and become all-powerful and take control of the night. The moon goes into its lunar eclipse form, but the person never uses the book and never becomes all-powerful.
He's mesmerized.
I don't care.
Memorized it, not mesmerized.
Well, I can tell what he's mesmerized with, but I think, we're not going to touch on that. It's just, you had this opportunity, and you just failed completely. And I was like looking forward to having this book empower somebody and be like, oh, take control of the night. What's that gonna do? What's gonna happen? But we never got to see it. I also felt Bob, the little hunky guy that you
Daniel Green, yeah.
What a waste. What a waste. I know why he was there, but he was horrible.
Oh, he was sweet.
No, he was so boring. They should have named him Belt if the other woman's named Chastity. They were so, gosh darn, stay away from me. They were so boring. They definitely fit in the town they were living in. So I could not stand any time he was on scene. As well, I felt
You're just jealous that he got so many scenes with her.
Yeah, screw that guy. Screw that guy. I felt there were a lot of forgettable characters as well on the sides. You actually pointed out that Kinnicky from Grease is in this movie. At first I thought, is that Michael Biehn? Because he kind of has like the same look.
Slick back.
And I was like, no, that's not Michael Biehn. Then you're like, no, that's Kinnicky from Grease. And I was like, that's who it is. Forgettable. Like, that's how forgettable he is. I didn't even recognize him. So that aside, the special effects, the soundtrack, I'm half and half with. I liked the songs from the 80s that they put in, but the original score and whatnot I felt was horrible. Horrible.
All right, is that all your negatives?
For now, yeah.
What do you mean for now?
For
in
now,
case you think
I
of other
might think of
stuff.
more, for now.
I'm gonna start my negatives by saying I'm actually impressed that you actually found a lot of good stuff, and you said you did enjoy it.
Yeah, I did.
Because my big negative is that this is as much as I love it. Now, when I saw this, I was 20 years old. I was one of the few people who saw it at the theater, and I'm very happy I did. My one negative is that it's of its time. A lot of young people watching this movie, there are so many dated references, like there's a Rambo joke, there's a Flashdance. Yeah, well, the good thing about Elvira is she picks very big movies.
I got Flashdance.
I know, but it's not timely. They didn't really they're of its time.
The only reference I didn't get was at the end of the movie with the marquee. It said Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, and then underneath in smaller letters was
Shecky Green.
I don't know what that is.
Shecky Green was a really bad comedian who was known for his one-liners, and he was a bad comedian that always played Las Vegas. It's almost. I don't even know of him except for the fact that they always seem in these movies say Shecky Green tonight, because it's just funny that she's higher than Shecky Green. Okay. I don't know.
See that one?
There you go.
Yeah,
but
that's one.
I don't expect most people, even my generation, might not even know who Shecky Green is.
Well, I'm glad that I have you here.
But there's
so
some people. There's some people. But some of it, and a lot of the jokes do fall flat, and it's not the kind of humor that a lot of people enjoy nowadays. I'm glad I do, but when I watch this, I do watch it with this nostalgia. I've seen it so many times that in my head, I'm saying the lines. I love the lines so much. They're just so goofy and ridiculous. But yeah, this to me is just a funny movie, but I do feel it's dated, and so when you do go to watch this, you've been warned. It is dated. There are a lot of throwaway characters. I liked the teenagers, but they never developed the teenagers.
I don't know the teenagers' names except for the one girl.
Yeah, Robin, and I think there's no reason to know them, but they do play a fairly pivotal part to the movie, but they're just oh, that guy, the tall guy, the blonde guy, the guy with the glasses, So I really don't think you need them, but it would have been nice to have a little bit more, because there seemed to be a connection between Elvira and the girl, but so there was some problems with it and stuff like that. I do agree some of the soundtrack, the original stuff, is a little synthy weird. Very. But I do like that they go back and forth from using some more rockier stuff to some old shout and stuff like that. And it's good. It's not the greatest movie, but it entertains me. And I didn't mention this in my positives, and Damian has to know I have to say something. Because, yes.
Absolutely.
I won't say when it happens, but there's a scene where Elvira does the infamous burlesque tassel thing. And I can say,
on the mind.
Me and the friend I was with when we were at the theater, literally almost gave a standing ovation. It was when you got two young guys, and remember, let's also remind people, I'm a gay man, and I still think this is a skill. And I was just oh my God, I kind of want to learn that, and nobody will ever see that. But I kind of want to learn that. And so I have to mention the tassels, but that's not a negative. That's
a huge positive.
Plus.
That's two positives.
So the only negatives I really have is that I had some issues with the script, and it is a little dated, and I know it's not great humor, and this ain't gonna be no 5 stars for me when we get to that. Anyhow, you like the tassels too.
I love the tassels.
Yes.
I thought there were some amazing shots of Elvira's body throughout this whole film.
When he said it, he's going to give 2 stars or 2 rating points for the tassels. So if he only rates it 2.5, we know what he really thought of the movie.
Personal favorite shot of the entire movie is when Elvira stops at a gas station to clean her windshield. I love that scene. As well as, yes, the tassels. So with all that in mind, the tassels get 2 points, 1 point each, and then I'm going to have to give the rest of the movie for a combined total of 3.5.
Wow, I am impressed.
I actually did really enjoy this movie.
Wow, I am impressed. You know why? Because I'm also
Keep
giving
in mind, 2 of those points belong to... right?
Oh,
so
man.
that shows you how much I actually enjoyed.
There goes our credibility for being reviewers. 2 of them go to this. I also give it a 3.5 stars. It's stars. We don't do stars. 3.5 points. I like this movie a lot. It's very nostalgic. I still love to watch it every couple of years. If you want more highbrow Halloween horrors, you can go to something like Young Frankenstein or Beetlejuice. But you know what? If you're looking for something a little out there, try to locate Elvira Misses the Dark. It might take a bit, but I think it's worth it. And especially if you're from you're a fan of Elvira or you're a fan of cheesy 80s movies.
Especially if you're a fan of cheesy 80s movies lovers, as well as hot, sexy people like me. So, like, comment, subscribe. You never know what's going to come next with our month of October Halloween Fest. And make sure you tune in, because you never know where we'll end up next week.
Who is this woman?